Students, welcome back to our next class, our next lesson rather, and our next topic is vocabulary associated with corruption. I'm sure we have been hearing corruption, probably from the news, or maybe when our parents are reading the papers, or maybe from conversations with adults between parents or uncles and aunties. We've been hearing about corruption. They've been saying this person is corrupt, the other person is corrupt, there's a particular corrupt politician. So we'll be looking at some of these words associated with corruption. We'll be looking at what the meaning of corruption is, and I hope we enjoy this next lesson also. Thank you. Alright, so for our objectives for this lesson, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to define corruption. You should be able to identify some words related to corruption. We should be able to state the meaning of some of these words we have identified, or rather all the words we identify in our lesson today. So let's go to what corruption means. The definition of corruption. Corruption can be said to be a person's involvement in illegal and fraudulent activities. Corruption can be said to be the act of a person being dishonest and fraudulent. Corruption is a form of dishonesty or criminal offense undertaken by a person or organization entrusted with a position of authority or responsibilities to acquire illicit benefits. So, in summary, what corruption means is basically the act of someone being dishonest, trying to make money or make gain out of being dishonest, which will have a negative effect on other people. So if you are being dishonest or into activities that are illegal and not truthful, and you're trying to make gain from it, which will affect other people negatively, then you're into corruption. So first word we'll be looking at, and under the words associated with corruption, is embezzlement. To steal money that you are responsible for or that belongs to your employer. If you're working in an organization and you have a lot of funds that belong to that organization under your care, and you decide to be eating out of that money and touching the money and spending it on things that belong to your own personal items, then you're being into embezzlement, and it's actually a punishable offense which can lead you in prison. The next is bribery. That's a word I'm sure a lot of us must have heard. So let's see what the meaning is now. Bribery is the act of offering a sum of money or something valuable to gain favor from someone or persuade them to help you, especially when you do not deserve it. I'm sure some of you must have either had experience of someone trying to bribe you, or maybe you've tried to bribe someone. I don't know if you've had that experience, and I know some of you here must have rejected that opportunity to be bribed. I hope so, though. Well, it's simply just collecting money to give to someone what he doesn't deserve, or maybe to help someone in something that the person doesn't deserve. If you're supposed to maybe give somebody something, or in a situation where you're supposed to help someone, and you go and help another person because that person gave you money, then that's bribery. And the next is tribalism, the act of giving favors or services to people who do not deserve them because they are from your tribe. Well, now we all have our tribes, we all have our ethnic groups, and for instance, now I am a Jaba man. Well, if there's a job opportunity that is meant to go to a Yoruba man or to an Igbo man, and I don't give it to them because I have someone from my village who does not even deserve that opportunity, and I give that opportunity to the person, then that's tribalism, because I have overlooked the people who deserve that opportunity and have given it to someone who does not, simply because we are from the same tribe. And rigging. Rigging is usually done during the elections. I don't know if we have had our parents talking about it, a particular party rigging elections, Well, it's simply trying to influence election votes during an election to make another candidate win. For instance, maybe this candidate has 10 votes while another has 200 votes. Then we go and add another 200 to the person who has 10, so he will pass that other person who already has 200. That is what we call rigging. You're trying to increase the vote of someone else simply because that person is losing. The next word we'll be looking at is fraud. A person who pretends to have qualities and abilities in order to make money illegally. If you're in a position where you make money from people by being dishonest, by putting a sort of falsehood on you, maybe by pretending to be someone you're not, then that is fraud. I'm sure we have heard of this Yahoo boys or G boys or people that are into 419. Those guys are pretending to be who they are not in order to deceive or scam other people and gain money from them. The next word we'll be looking at is nepotism, giving unfair advantages to your own family members if you are in a position of power. If I'm in a position or a political position, maybe like the governor, and maybe I want to appoint commissioners in my state. I'm sure in our previous class we looked at what commissioners are, and maybe there are people that deserve to be commissioners, but instead of giving it to those people, I go and give it to my family members. That's unfair, and that is an act of corruption. The next word we'll be looking at is incorruptible. Well, incorruptible is actually a very good word, even though it's related to corruption. It is a person who is not easily persuaded to do something wrong or to do something dishonest. If you're in a situation where someone has asked you to do something wrong or something dishonest and you refuse to do it, then you're referred to as being incorruptible. The next word we'll be looking at is shady. Something that looks dishonest or looks illegal. If there's a situation you find yourself in that you don't really trust and you think someone is trying to scam you or play you, then we refer to that situation as being shady. The next word we'll be looking at is anti-corruption. Anti-corruption is another good word we'll be looking at. This is the act of fighting against corruption or corrupt people. Our next word is perversion. Perversion is usually used in the court of law when you're trying to turn something good to something wrong or something bad. Maybe someone is supposed to be found guilty, but instead you maybe have been bribed at the back and then you perverse justice. The person gets a lighter sentence or no sentence at all. You have perverse justice now, and that is also another corruptible or act or a word found under corruption. The next word is injustice. Treating people unfairly and denying them what they deserve. When someone has a particular thing which they deserve and you hinder them from having that thing, or a particular situation or experience which they are supposed to share, but you deny them from having that experience or deny them from being in that situation, then that is injustice. Vices, or rather vice, we have heard of social vices in our social studies class or in our civic classes. These are evil or immoral behaviors. Anything bad and immoral is referred to as a vice. Vices are usually found under corruption. The next word is profiteering. The act of making money by asking for very high prices for things that are hard to get. Let's say we find ourselves in a situation where we have some good or some products where other people or other communities cannot get them, and we decide to increase the price from its original price simply because it is hard to get elsewhere. We refer to it as profiteering. The next word is theft. Theft is the act of taking things that do not belong to you without permission from the owner, and it's synonymous with stealing, which we all know. I'm sure this is something that we've all heard about. Maybe we have seen someone who has stolen something before and they say he's a thief. Now, the act of stealing something is what we call theft. The last word we'll be looking at today is malpractice, an attempt to falsify results or use illegal materials to influence something to make it look better than it is. Malpractice is another word which we have been hearing, and it's common in some parts of Nigeria, which is very terrible and very bad. But well, it's where we find ourselves today. But malpractice is something that should be discouraged among everybody. It's the act of someone trying to take in, maybe the person did not read, and he's trying to sneak in papers and books to help him or assist him to pass an examination. That is what we refer to as malpractice. So we have come to the conclusion of today's class, and in this class we have been able to look at the meaning of corruption. We have been able to look at words associated with corruption and the meaning of these words. I'm sure on our own or in our spare time we can also look up some of these words on the internet, or maybe we can ask an adult in the house, or our parents, our grandparents, uncles and aunties. Any adult or elderly person close to you can assist you in getting some more words associated with corruption. So finally, it's to discourage any of us from ever participating in any of these bad acts or being involved in corruption, where, like the poster says, say no to corruption, because corruption can land you in prison, and I'm sure none of us want to be in prison. So thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed the class, and I hope we all learned something today. See you guys in our next lesson. Goodbye.